Hi, everybody. Welcome back to LCM TV. Today, I'm talking with Lean Change Facilitator Sarika Kharbanda. Sarika, welcome.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me for this interview.
You're welcome. And for the viewers out there, you'd notice I probably pronounced her name incorrectly. Is it Sarika or Sarika? Because I know we get that a lot. We're on a lot of calls together, and I know people go, Sarika, Sarika. What's the official pronunciation?
So I think I would say no approach to pronounce it is incorrect. All are correct. I know that when it's Sarika, Sarika, Saika, everything refers to me, so I'm good with that. The actual approach in which I would say it is Sarika.
Okay. All right, good. Cool. So I met you in Helsinki in 2017, I think, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, cool. So what prompted you to become a lean change facilitator?
It's a good question. 4 years back, and I have to think, maybe 5 in just another couple of days, and I'll say 5 years back. I would say the most important thing was, given the transformations I'd been working on in the organizations that I was transforming in at that time, I happened to be applying a lot of the techniques that probably you'd already written about in the book. And I remember when we chatted up in Helsinki, after the first day of the workshop, I was like, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. Yeah, maybe not completely that, a bit customized of that. Yeah, so I think it'll be cool to also become a facilitator because I've been implementing a lot of these techniques I don't want to call it, techniques. And I would say a lot of the thinking that you have behind what change is and what we call today as the universals of change, right? I would say a lot of that is what was inherent in the kind of transformations I'd been running. And I thought, why not align with the community that's got everything that you stand for? So why not? And you had brought that community already. So I said, hey, I'd like to be a facilitator. That was me then.
Cool. Yeah, I remember that workshop. That was the ones in Finland always seem to be they seem to go to a much deeper for some reason. There's just must be something in the water up in the Nordics. There's a way that anybody, even people visiting the country just seem to extract every nugget of knowledge out of a topic, which I thought was fantastic. It was great. And I remember we continually improved in that workshop because the first day we didn't have cake, but then Rena got us cake for the second day because we said we need cake with the coffee for the afternoon break. But yeah, it was such an awesome workshop. What actually brought you to Finland? Because you've lived in how many different countries?
That's a good question. I think officially, in terms of longest time periods, I would say I've lived in 4 countries officially. That includes Singapore, Denmark, India, and Bahrain. So that's 4 official long-term countries, but pretty much other than, I think, traveling to Africa and South America, not even to China. So maybe 2 or 3 of these, I think I've pretty much trotted across the globe, which is why I think for me coming to Helsinki was like, the workshop's in Helsinki. Okay, so let's just fly in there. No big deal. And I used to be a neighbor there, right? I had worked in Denmark earlier, so I knew whereabouts in Finland. I had friends there, and I was like, it'll be great to also catch up with friends if I'm popping up there for a workshop. And since you were doing, I think it was the last of the year workshop that time, that's the tentative idea that you had at that time. And I was like, I know it's early in the year, but what the hell, I don't want to miss the opportunity. And let's just jump in, and got to fly in there.
Ah, cool. So were you in Denmark then at that time when you flew over, or like, as you said, pop in? So you just popped in from India, or?
From India, yes. That was my pop in from India to Finland, yes. So I had actually come back from Singapore. I had moved back from Singapore back to India due to family reasons. And then, we connected. And then I understood Rena was hosting this workshop for you in Helsinki. I was like, that's closer than flying to Toronto. So let's fly to Helsinki. So that's a positive, right? It's closer than something else. So why not? So it's a pop in, Jason.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, I just popped in from, I don't know, 9,000 kilometers away.
Or so. So it's interesting how relative these things get, right? When we talk about distances in India, and I'm sure it's similar in Canada too, because when you talk of distances, like, yeah, I generally end up saying, yeah, I'm close to Mumbai, which is the financial capital of India. And it's like 150 kilometers, from Mumbai. And people are like, what do you mean close? That's 150 kilometers. I'm like, yeah, it's 150 kilometers. So there's a difference in expression. It becomes so relative. So yeah, popping into Finland is easier than popping into Canada at that time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, same. I grew up in the country, so everything was pretty close. And whenever I talk to my family, I'm like, yeah, we're just gonna go to this place. It's just around the corner, and it's like 80 kilometers away. And but back then it was, you gotta pack the car up and make sure you have food for 4 days just in case and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's just around the corner. It's like 80 kilometers away.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, speaking of Toronto, you came here for Spark the Change as well, because you also organized Spark the Change India.
Yes. So that was an interesting experience, right? And it wouldn't have happened had we not connected in Finland. And then had I not known you were running Spark already in Toronto. And I think it was the same year, 2017, where I participated in Spark Toronto as a robotic speaker on the Kubi. And that inspired me. I think I can still remember those moments where I was like, oh my God, this is a conference. This is what we call an activity-based, hands-on, full-time learning conference, because it's not a one-sided thing. And I was like, why not bring it to India? And you totally inspired me. And I still give you full credit, Jason. Thanks for that inspiration. And I was so glad to bring it next year with you as our, I can't say keynote speaker, right? We have no keynote speakers in Sparks.
Right.
So yeah, as the speaker who kicked off our conference in a most positive way. So yeah, that was amazing to bring to India in 2018.
Yeah, that was cool. That was definitely a fun conference for sure. Switching gears a bit, what was your first job that you remember? So not in change, not in IT, not in whatever. What was the first job that you ever had?
It's going to be an interesting conversation from now, I think, because you would be like, we've been working now, from the community change point of view, a community of, in the lean change space. And you know how much I run away when we talk about writing code, etc. So guess what I was doing then? That's my first job. I was working as an ASP 2.0 programmer, developer, what do you want to call it? And I think it was the most fun experience I've ever had, because I really thought I was a crappy person to write code. I just wrote crappy code. And the sooner I realized it, the better. I think it took me a year to figure out that nobody should buy the products that I would create because I don't write good code. It doesn't make sense. Though I tested very well and I connected with the customers very well. So those are my strong points. So do I remember my first job? Yes, it was writing. It was 1997. So makes me really old, but what the hell, brings the white hair and the experience. Why not? I would say, yeah, that's the time when .com was booming in India. It started off and globally, I guess. And I had just jumped into starting to work in the e-commerce space. And I was working on, I think it was a couple of portals that were being developed by the organization that I was working in. And there was one on the coffee side. I think it was called eGreen Coffee, a US-based coffee company. And then there was another India-based properties site called India Properties that still exists, I know. So interesting. So I was working on these, and that's my first job that I remember, and everything about it still is exciting.
Ah, very
Not writing code.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of my first languages too. I remember I worked in a marketing department and we were using that same tech stack. So VB script with active server pages. Yep. Very cool. When did you get bit by the change bug? So when did you become a change agent? It was a certification, wasn't it? You went out and got certified in the change. And then...
Unfortunately, no. And and I say that I think we already touched upon that point, right, Jason? I've been living in different countries, and I think I would actually answer that question by saying I think it's a little inherent in me to go through change, because you can't just go to a country, start living there, and there's nothing that's going to impact you. You take both intrinsic decisions and the external environment impacts you both, right? And you have to be ready for a lot of stuff that you probably don't know that's coming your way. And it goes back to what we run as a smaller meetup. I don't know what I don't know. So I would say a lot of that change piece is inherent in me. I was probably hit with that, not by birth, but yeah, at a very young age, I would say. And because of this whole globetrotting experience, it just enhanced that each time. And I think, yeah, maybe I want to add a couple other points to it. Like, it's not something that you can differentiate in the personal space and the professional space, because change is change. And like we say in the lean change space, it's all about social change. You can't really separate yourself also as an individual. So I can't be different if I'm in a workspace. I can't be different if I'm being impacted by change or driving change in a social space. I'm still the same authentic Sarika. And I guess I just had to embrace the fact that change is going to start with me. And yeah, so I've been doing that maybe since childhood. So that's where I would say I think I would become a change agent in different ways.
So that's an interesting perspective too. Having been to so many different places in the world and experiencing so many different cultures, you really get to see how people react to change differently across different cultures.
Indeed. I mean, I look at my work experience. So I've been in Denmark. I've been working with all the Nordic countries out there. I've been working with Poland, the Baltics. I grew up in Bahrain, and I think the common language that I used to speak with people is English. And, cultural sensitivity, language sensitivity, ethnic dress, everything. So you start, I think, being sensitive to that, also understanding why people behave the way they behave. Goes back to, again, aligning with what we bring in the lean change space as, social change. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So as we get into the wrap up, what do you have going on over the next few months that you want people to know about?
Lots of fun stuff. The first one, I think, is my upcoming break, which I don't want to tell people about. Okay. From a larger work perspective, I would say a lot of stuff, especially from the lean change community perspective, we are bringing a lot of, engagement, good events and stuff coming up in the lean change community space, because change is inherent. And I want to make sure that we can, bring new stuff to people globally. A lot of leadership, lean change management workshops that I'm planning to bring in, and a combination, I would say, of HR and lean change. That's a space I've been working in for the past 4 years, I think now, HR and lean change. So I definitely want to put something out in the public space for that. I've been doing that a lot more or less in private workshop spaces for companies globally. But yeah, maybe bringing that into the public space. And of course, I should not forget, we've got OKRs and lean change coming up too, and I'm working with a colleague on that. So that's pretty much for the next 6 months, I would say.
Oh, excellent. And how can people find out more about you?
Very easy. You can multiple places actually. So simplest is to go to sarikakharbanda.com, which is SarikaKharbanda.com. And the other is if you visit the Lean Change website, leanchange.org, under facilitators, just look for Sarika. There's only one Sarika so far. Mm-hmm. So yes, you can find all about me there. So leanchange.org/Sarika will get you there. Mm-hmm. Those should be two places where you can find me on the internet. And of course, LinkedIn, look for Sarika Kharbanda, Global Lean Change Agent. And I would say, if you just want to connect with me or contact me, write to me, WRITE, 2 as in a number 2, ME @sarikakharbanda.com.
Excellent. Awesome. Thanks for joining. And I'll give you one last question to wrap up. What is your best advice for change agents?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Can I just say everything in Lean Change?
Sure.
Okay, that would be too biased. Okay. Okay, let's narrow it down. I would probably just put my mantra out there, which is disrupt, unleash, and co-create. I think it's important to disrupt yourself rather than being disrupted. Unleash your own potential so that you can enable others to create their potential and, I would say, find their own potential. And last but not the least, co-create the future together.
Marvelous. Well said. So thanks very much for joining today, and we will see you in the new year.
Definitely. Thanks, Jason, for having me.
You're welcome.